this is just about my favourite multi-tool. That's because it's mains operated, so you don't need an intermediate power supply box. It's variable speed, you've got an on-off switch on there, and it has a chuck rather than collets, which means it will accept a reasonable range of small drills and arbors, whereas the ones that have collets are a nightmare, in that you even get a kit where the collet provided doesn't fit all the tools provided in the kit. They don't match it. Anyway, this is ground to a halt, and what I thought was grease at first in here, this semi-translucent material here, is in fact, I believe, a semi-resilient connection between the bearing mounted shaft on which the chuck fits, which is there, and that drops in there, and the end of the motor with the fan on it. And so I think if I dig down a bit further, we'll find that that is just perished and shattered. I can't say that I've ever lubricated this or added any chemicals or anything to it, and so this is just with storage. Oh, it would be cold by now anyway. So just with storage and age, that has perished. Now that the perished bit of translucent plastic is out of the way, I think you can see the end of the motor splines and the beginning of the spindle splines, gap between them, and that's what's left of the connecting piece. So there we go. Now to try and search, see if I can find something to allow me to repair this. Well, the time I've spent fabricating a flexible coupling for this Draper multi-tool, if I costed that out, I could have bought several new multi-tools. If I'd spent the time on FreeCAD, I could have designed a new one and 3D printed it. It's just a 6-splined. I'll take a quick video. There's a fragment of it, connector. That gives you an idea of the shape of it. So I had a chunk of plastic. It's a sort of Teflon material. I cut a cube out of a corner, turned that down, heated up the, what we would call it, the front spindle here, which has one of the splined connections on it, and the other spline connection is a plastic on the plastic fan of the motor. Impressed that into it to form an impression. used a jig in my lathe to drill around a series of holes where the splines would be on the inside of the cylindrical part. That wasn't entirely successful, but I managed to do that. And then hand broached the splines down the inside of it. They will not be accurate, but it's a plastic material. When I got enough of the hand broaching, I reheated this and imprinted the shape into one end, turned it over, reheated it, pressed it onto the metal part. It's stuck on there now. Finished hand broaching it and trimming it and etc. until it would fit onto the plastic part on the fan. And then I've reassembled it. I think because of inaccuracies in my process, there's a little bit more vibration. Oh, hold on, I've plug in. Let's go. I've plugged the wrong thing in. Okay, I was going to plug it in just to show you. Right, here we go again. So I think there's a bit more vibration than there was before. Doesn't feel excessive. I don't know what that will do to the life of the tool. The life of the motor or whatever. But it's now usable. It might mean that it's slightly less usable if there's a bit more vibration at the end, depending on what I'm trying to do with it. But it's now usable again because the tool itself has not had a hard life. The shattering of the coupling is entirely due to age and perishing of this material. 14 years I've had it. Draper responded and said, we no longer supply this tool, we do not supply any parts. And because I was interested in 3D printing, they said we don't even supply any diagrams for this tool because it's no longer a stock item. So they were unable to help me with one of their tools, bearing in mind that the equivalent Dremel, which is a different manufacturer, has this flexible coupling as a readily available part. If you look for the flexible coupling, but it's a 10 splined coupling and it's much longer. Therefore, there's no way that was going to fit. This is 6 splines, which fortunately made it easy for me when I was indexing it on the lathe, because with my crude indexing, I was using that as one index, a jaw of the chuck as the next index, then the next hole for the key as the next index. So it wasn't very accurately indexed, not on the teeth or anything, but it got it with 6. So that I had a coupling that would go in there. Well, that's the story of that. Bit of rough engineering, but it is back together again. And the motor is connected to the spindle once more so that it's usable. And that's the story. I don't know what the learning things are from this. Possibly throw the tool away and buy another one. But I've learnt a bit, and there's been some enjoyment out of doing a bit of fabrication and a repair in my repair workshop. And that's a quick spin round. There we are, the repair workshop, repairing a Draper, whatever you call it, multi-tool I think they call it.